I love my father. Somewhere along the way, William Thomas Curry is nicknamed Wild Bill. He isn't just a hellion. He has a joie de vivre, a zest for life that shines through his wild Irish blue eyes. Dad brings home his paycheck and throws up the cash, letting us catch and keep what we can. We feel like we hit the jackpot. He teaches his 4 daughters how to shoot craps. We all huddle in the living room, saying 7-Eleven or doubles. Baby needs a new pair of shoes. Another time he comes home with a motorcycle, a small red Kawasaki. We all excitedly get our turns to be ridden around the neighborhood. I hold on as tight as I can for fear of being swept off. I bury my face in his back, leaning when he leans, my heart racing with exhilaration. My first memories of him are filled with excitement, but they are also tinted with longing. Holidays are brutal. Sometimes he doesn't show up. There are drunken rages and trees decorated with shiny glass ornaments fly across the living room floor. He accidentally falls into it, spraying in all directions because he's so drunk he can't stand up. Until I'm 10 years old, I share a bedroom with my sister Terry. On a good night, all is well. On a bad night, we are all on high alert. We're awakened by some sound, elevated voices, each of the 4 sisters lying in bed, waiting, knowing that at some point it would come to flesh against flesh. That's our cue. Terry and I stealthily fly into the seeming safety of Eileen and Donna's rooms just as they open the door, expecting us. None of us talk. We just wait in the dark. Hearts pounding, eyes closed, breath held, waiting. Soon, the voices are too high and the physicality too close. We rise up as one, all members of the same tribe, and run straight out into the darkness toward the sound, the light, and the fury. The presence of 4 girls is enough to knock the sense back into him and to give my mother enough time to gather herself up as the chief member of the all-girl warrior tribe. One day, my sister Terry's in the girls' room when we are attending St. Rose of Lima Catholic School. She's in the 8th grade and I'm in the 6th grade. She's crying. Stupid Chester Ferris was making fun of her because our father had been arrested for attempted murder. The story is in the Danbury News Times, which Chester brings into school. I don't really understand what's going on, but I know something really bad is happening. In our house, there's always a thin layer of chaos and confusion that permeates the air, unpredictability. It is ever present, waxing and waning, at times receding, then at other times crashing violently against the ragged shoreline. But Chester Ferris making fun of Terry, come on, I want to knock his block off. She comes into the girls' room crying, and I just happen to be there. I think it's like a miracle of the Blessed Virgin Mary that I'm in there. There's several layers of embarrassment. It wasn't a domestic dispute between my mother and father. He was going to shoot a girlfriend, and he was, of course, blindly intoxicated. Even though the charges are dropped, he's still a drunk, a cheat, and an attempted murderer. This is the straw that breaks my mother's back. She is filing for a divorce. I feel relief. This divorce could mean a more peaceful and serene life. I stand there not knowing how to comfort Terry. I want to click my heels together, but I don't know where I want to go. In high school, my father all of a sudden, out of nowhere, appears. He's still a drunk, but all of a sudden interested in me and my life. He wants to know the who, what, where, when, and how of it. I'm incredulous. You don't get to ask those questions. You don't deserve to ask those questions. I despise your despicable drunkenness. I owe you nothing. I'm righteous even though by this time I'm drinking alcohol, smoking pot, and doing any drug that I can get my hands on. I start drinking at 13, or I should say my first blackout full tilt drunk was at 13. I'm sure I tasted alcohol before then, sipping my grandfather's ice-cold Yuling made in his hometown of Shenandoah, Pennsylvania, or Pennsylfuckentucky as I like to call it. I lick my fingers after pushing the ice cubes down into the 4 fingers of scotch that I pour for my father. At the same time of my first drunk, I start going to Alateen. I hate it and find comfort in it at the same time. I go with my mother, who attends Al-Anon, while I am shuffled off to the damp, cold church basement for the Alateen meeting. There are other teens there that are suffering from living with active alcoholism. I feel a sense of belonging and a sense of betrayal. I'm being asked to share the family secrets. Don't talk, don't trust, don't feel. I'm introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous when I go with my father and mother to AA meetings during his many cycles of sobriety. I have an interest in AA, though not in relationship to my own drinking. I'm in denial for a long time. Though I don't know it, I'm following in my father's footsteps. I watch my father decompose, disintegrate into drunkenness so many times that you would think I would rather die than put that substance inside of me. But it was just the opposite. I couldn't wait for the next time, and the next time after that. Drugs and alcohol and sex did the trick. I was off to the land of more. More of this and more of that. I'm a budding alcoholic. Thankfully, I get sober some 15 years later at the age of 27. 3 years before my father dies from pouring scotch down his throat on a daily basis. He's alone at Tripler Hospital in Honolulu, 6,000 miles from home. Liquid spirits rob him and those he loves of who he is, essentially. He loses everything: his wife, his daughters, his grandchildren, his ability to work, his health, his mind, and ultimately his life. I'm sober for 23 years. I get to live the life I always wanted to live. I fall in love. I have a deep, meaningful relationship with my friends and family. My work is rewarding and satisfying. My life is beyond my wildest dreams. I believe that I'll remain sober until the day that I die. But in 2010, after succumbing to years of grief after my partner died, turning inward rather than reaching for help, and a deep, dark, debilitating depression, I start drinking again. I'm in North Carolina by myself. I take myself out to dinner, and just like that, even after 23 years of sobriety, I order a frozen margarita, salted rim, Cuervo Gold. It feels very familiar, comfortable, and reasonable. It feels right to be 800 miles away from my home by myself at dinner ordering what at another time in my life I looked at as poison. I'm just like Wild Bill. He was a drunk, I'm a drunk. He had periods of sobriety, so do I. His drinking led him down a path of total destruction and obliteration, costing him his family, his livelihood, and his life. I narrowly escaped taking the path that he took. In the few short months that I drink again, I also begin to lose everything: money, property, and relationships. The worst of it is not the material things. I lose trust in myself and the trust of my beloved friends and family. I lose my sense of place in the world, my sense of belonging. My self-confidence is shaken. I'm living in abject terror of the future and deep regret for the past. I am falling fast, taking a nosedive, thinking that living is a chore. The other side starts to call my name. I can see myself dying like my father. When he dies alone. None of us are there. When he is near death, his nurse Susan tells me that she turns the radio station to country western, the music he loves. He tells her that he loved Mom, the sweetest and loveliest, and his 4 daughters, all beauties, and his grandchildren. And he does have regrets, which have to do with his love of Dewar's Scotch whiskey. Thank God he goes peacefully, as much as his life was riddled with pain and loss at the hands of alcoholism. He, too, was a child of a raging alcoholic. His father died at 39. I come close to repeating the family legacy, but one day I make a decision to ask for help, and help arrives. I see how alcoholism is taking me down, just like it took my father and grandfather. By the grace of God, I see a future where I don't have to drink anymore, and that's the path I take, with love and understanding in my heart for my father and the road he traveled.